Just tell me one.
Okay, folks.
The distinguished American actor, correction, the very distinguished American actor, James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones is here in Jamaica making a documentary. We're now at the Jamaica Inn Hotel in Ocho Rios, and it's not your first time in Jamaica, is it?
No, I was in Kingston in the mid-'70s at a film festival.
Oh.
Yeah.
Has Jamaica changed much?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see it going through changes, you know. What is good is that I can see them. I'm not coming here as a tourist every time and being hidden away in some, you know, Churchill suite at the Jamaica Inn all the time, you know. But get out among the real people and real situations and real locations.
Speaking about locations, JAMPRO, the Jamaica Promotions company, is making a big push to sell Jamaica to film companies abroad as a location. What do you think about it as a location? You can be honest.
Okay, it's rich, of course. Just driving between the Wyndham Hotel and Kingston to the Trident up here in Port Antonio and here, just getting to and fro each morning to the locations and getting back home, I see all kinds of terrain, you know, and that's all that a film company really needs, and a climate where you can be outdoors a lot, you know.
Yeah.
I remember we did a movie called Swashbuckler, set in Jamaica. Too bad we couldn't have been here.
Oh.
At that time, it might have been too expensive. I don't know.
Where did they do it?
In Hollywood and in Mexico, in Puerto Vallarta. So, better to have been here.
Yes. Other films like High Wind in Jamaica was made here.
Yes.
And of course, Club Paradise recently and Passion in Paradise miniseries. Maybe you must come down for another one. But you're used to the heat, though, aren't you?
Well, I was born in Mississippi.
In Arca-Butler?
Arca-Butler, you know that. Yeah, so even though we moved to Michigan, to the cold, to the Arctic, really, when I was 4.5, my system is used to adjusting, you know, this heat.
Yeah. Now, you played a boxer in one of your most famous roles, The Great White Hope.
Yes.
And you did it on stage. Did you win a Tony for that?
Yes, we did.
Yes,
yeah.
you did. And it ran for what, 2 years or something?
I was in it for a full year, and then Yaphet Kotto took over for a year. Almost a year, yeah. And I won the best actor. The play, I think, got the best play. Howard Sackler, the writer, got the best play. Jane Alexander got the best actress. And all kinds of wonderful things happened. And then we filmed it, and part of the event took place in Cuba. For that, we went to Spain. Again, too bad we couldn't have gone to the real Cuba, but then it was very difficult, you know.
You were nominated for an Oscar for that, weren't you?
Yes.
For the film.
It was not a good film, however. Somehow, we all understood the play. The play was almost filmic in itself, episodic, very full of activity, full of sound. Yeah. And when we got to do the film, we were lost in a way.
It was kind of muted, wasn't
yeah,
it,
exactly. Yeah. It was not as vibrant as the play was.
Now, your father was a boxer and then became an actor, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was the boxer. He went from Mississippi to New Jersey as an amateur boxer. I've seen a photo of him in the New York News. His fist being raised in victory, but you couldn't tell who it was. His face was so blooded. Oh. And that was an image we used at the end of Great White Hope, actually, yes. for the victor, for the Great White Hope, the boxer who won Willard. You couldn't tell who he was, and that sort of inspired by my father's reality. Then
what was his name?
Robert Earl Jones. Robert Earl Jones, you might have seen him in The Sting with Redford and
yes.
Robert Shaw and Newman. He's been in other movies. He still works. Yeah, he's like you. He still works, and will continue to work. He's a good actor too.
But now you've triumphed in every field. I mean, from television to stage to films. You played Alex Haley, for example, in Roots 2. How did you find that? Was that a satisfying...
Yes, I had known Alex. The year that Alex published the autobiography of Malcolm X, I flew up to Rome, New York, 4 feet of snow. I said, knocked on his door, I said, I want to do this role. I want to do Malcolm X. How can I acquire the rights to this book? And we talked for a while. It never happened. The project never happened. But we did become friends. And his fantasy was that I was to play a role in his Roots. And I didn't know what Roots was. And later I had a chance to play Alex himself in the episode where he goes to Africa and finds
yes, his roots.
Kunta Kinte.
How did that change his life? Do you know?
Oh,
how he saw himself.
Didn't Alex buy a house down here at one time somewhere?
I think he did.
In northern Jamaica, yeah.
Right.
That's how it changed his life. It gave him a great deal of flexibility, gave him the ability to go to places where writing, where he felt fertile as a writer. He and I used to share dwellings overseas. I'd find a place that was nice and quiet, and I'd tell him about it. And before I turned the key over, he'd come over and take it over and write there, you know. But how it really changed his life, I don't know. Probably not a lot. Alex is a man always aware of who he really is. Always a storyteller. Alex is primarily an interviewer, as you are.
Yeah.
And through that, he tells stories, you know.
Speaking of stories, there was recently a documentary called Story of a People, which was talking about the images of the blacks in America on the screen, mainly. And you know how a lot of people now feel that they were very degrading images. They were very, you know, either you had to be funny or pathetic or evil, like in Birth of the Nation or something. Now, I cannot picture, having met you and having seen you in so many films, anybody daring to offer you a part that you would consider demeaning. Has it ever happened?
I hope so, because we have gone through some demeaning things as a people. We can't avoid that. We can't whitewash everything. One of the hard things that Alex really, I think, broke was that inability for any of us to confront slavery. Because if you do that, you've got to acknowledge that the slave himself was party to it. And that's not very, very comfortable to deal with, especially in storytelling, you know. I remember that it was impossible to get the story of Nat Turner done because the authors couldn't please everybody and mistakenly tried to make everybody feel good. Sometimes good stories don't make you feel good, and they shouldn't.
Yeah.
So when you say, am I given degrading roles?
Yeah, I mean, have you ever been offered? I don't think you've ever played one.
Well, the actor's job is to simply bring as much reality to that role, no matter how degraded the character is in real life, and probably should be for the story's sake. Then you bring a total human being to that role.
Because, for instance, Butterfly McQueen, the unforgettable Prissy from Gone with the Wind, she said in a recent interview that she hated playing Prissy because she felt, as a person, she was more intelligent, and she despised Prissy as a person, as a character to play. Has that ever happened to you? I mean, people ridicule Stephen Fetchit, for example.
Shouldn't, by the way. He's a great artist.
I know, I
Yeah.
think so.
The problem is Hollywood has gotten into some bad habits, and it makes life easy for those who put things together. In other words, they don't have to stretch their imagination. They don't have to adjust to too much reality, you know. And those bad habits shouldn't be encouraged. At the same time, we can't jump on the other side and say, got to make everything glorious, because life is not glorious. One curious thing about drama is about problems. about people having problems and solving problems. And you can't avoid that. That's what drama is. Otherwise, do comedy. You know.
Right. Strictly comedy.
Yeah, yeah.
Something like Coming to America.
Coming to America, yeah. No problems at all. Too much money to spend.
Now,
Give it away, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way,
Madge Sinclair.
I'm not, and this is also an answer to your question, I have never done anything that I felt ashamed of. Even though the role might have been a degraded person, there was, I hope, a point to it, a point to be made. You know.
Can you think of one? Can you name one that you felt?
I can name one, but I have a more important point to make here about Coming to America. A lot of people were upset that it was a comedy. Why not take all that money and make a serious drama? Well, sometimes it's important to breed, and humor is a good way of breeding. And it was important for Eddie to address something light, you know. But in doing so, he played his first straight role. He was not playing a character, and he is a master character actor. But what the point I'm getting at is that his mom, the Queen of Zamunda, was the great Madge Sinclair, who was Jamaican. And I am so fortunate that when I go back home, I will begin a TV series called Gabriel's Fire, in which Madge Sinclair will be featured character.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
That's great.
And in a way, it's because I got to know her a little bit as this queen, this wonderful regal. I mean, she made the kingdom of Zamunda, really, just by her bearing. And her fine accent, which is more than just Jamaican, it's more than just English. It's a fine sound that woman evokes grandeur, you know. When I saw the role in the TV series, I said, I don't want an American actress who will simply play my mom. I'm too old for a mom.
Yeah.
I'm playing an ex-convict who gets out of jail after 20 years and has to begin his life all over again. And there's a woman who was in his past life who he renews his acquaintanceship with. Yeah. And the tendency, again, Hollywood habits, was to cast a matronly, motherly type. I said, no, give me a woman who someday this character might rediscover his sexuality, and if that is his mate, I want to think of her as sexual, you know, not mom, but a woman, and that was Madge Sinclair.
Oh, that's great. And she, she keeps very close contact always with Jamaica, and when she comes
I heard she was moving back. That's why we grabbed her for this TV series, and she'll probably commute, actually. You know.
Now, she was a teacher who became an actress.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. See, there's a lot I don't know about her.
And you were studying medicine?
I was a pre-med student. See, I'm from the farm. I'm a country boy, and none of us ever thought of going to college, university, without picking one of the three major, careers: doctor, lawyer, Indian chief.
Yeah.
So I chose medicine because I thought I had a keenness about science. Discovered I did not at all. So there was the Korean War looming, and I said, I'll study acting for a while before I go off to war.
So where did you study acting?
At the University of Michigan, after I dropped pre-med.
Yeah.
Then later on, after the Army, I studied in New York for a while.
So it was a conscious decision. It wasn't something. Was it something that you always wanted to do?
No, even though my father was an actor, I never yearned to be an actor. I'm a stutterer, so the idea of making a living at talk, was kind of foolish. Seemed foolish.
Does it seem foolish now? Not at all.
Yeah,
No,
it does.
come on.
Yeah, I get in front of a camera and I start stammering and stuttering. It seems very foolish. But in a way, it's like you exercise a weak muscle. Many athletes began as, impaired people.
Yes. But
And
now
by exercising the weak muscle, it becomes the way you make your living.
Yeah. In your son, for example, do you think he'll become an actor?
I have no idea. Right now, I don't know if you have it in this country, but he wants to be a Nintendo mechanic. Nintendo is a video game.
Oh, yes.
He's 7 years old, so he's still obsessed with things like that. He's a master draftsman, actually. He draws still with his full fist, you know, like that. But he's a master draftsman. And whether he wants to be an actor or not, that's up to him. I'd love him to, but we will not point him in any direction.
Yeah, but you wouldn't try to discourage him from it.
Not at all, because I really think being able to make my living as an actor is something I'm proud of. I think it's a noble profession. You can do noble things, you know.
Now, one of your biggest successes, I believe, was Othello. Well, apart from Emperor Jones, but Othello too, which is one of the great roles, I think, for an actor.
I think Lear is better, frankly.
Do you?
My favorite role in Hamlet is Horatio. My favorite role in Othello is Cassio. I'm perverse that way, actually. No, Othello is the role, of course, that is set up for the Afro-American, the Afro-Caribbean, the African heritage to, you know, to try to capture. But I don't think anybody's done it since Paul Robeson, really done that role.
Yes. But you, I mean, your performance was very highly praised.
I've been at it a few times. There was one production I did back in the mid-'60s that worked, and possibly because it had a female director. In Othello, like Measure for Measure, one of those plays where the moral dilemma is so acute that males often miss the point. And the point in Othello is, okay, so you think your wife is unfaithful, why don't you divorce her? This man can't, he must kill her and kill himself. Now today you say, well, that's foolish, right? It takes a female sometimes to understand all those subtle sensibilities that existed in Shakespeare's time.
A local poet here that I talked to some time ago said he regretted, well, didn't regret, but he felt it was a shame that Shakespeare, that when he was at school they were teaching Shakespeare, because they should have been teaching, you know, just local things that he felt were relevant. I said, but don't you think the emotions, the situations relevant? He said, yes, but in the way it's written. I don't know, what do you feel?
When
when
Shylock says to the court, I'm a man, I feel like a man, I breathe like a man, you know those lines.
Yeah.
That defines what Shakespeare was all about. He wrote people, you know. He put it in this strange language, but then we all have strange language. We all have strange rhythms. We're lucky if we have a poetic rhythm, though.
Yes.
I noticed it here in Jamaica, a strongly poetic rhythm. I was talking to a young man yesterday who I could barely understand what he was trying to tell me, but man, was it beautiful to hear. He was talking about the sea, in a way, you know. It didn't matter whether I got every word. I got a rhythm, I got a poetic vision from him, you know. And that's all Shakespeare was giving us, was couching the thought and the feelings and strong poetic vision. It's very important to have that. It's very important to be able to appreciate the grandeur of language, you know.
Yes. And
It's not just words, you know.
I know, it's everything.
Yeah, it's passion. You know. I don't think you can elevate feelings, emotions into the level of passion without some sort of poetic surge. You know? And that's when you use the best of your language.
Yes, absolutely.
Listen to the great politicians, you know. When do they really score? When is, you know.
Well, the one who's sweet, the one who used to stay in the suite you're staying in, Churchill.
Churchill, yeah. That's...
Who knew how to use every word to milk it, as it were.
It's not just show business.
Yeah,
right?
no.
Yeah.
It's to get emotions.
Yeah, exactly. To move people. Yeah.
Do you think of yourself, like in the future, I mean, like Rex Harrison and Laurence Olivier, who just died with a grease paint on almost. They acted right up to the end of their lives. I mean, you're still very young. You're a youngster.
I'm hitting 60, and I hope to keep going till I'm 80 and fall dead right on stage. Sure,
That's what you
I'd bite by that.
Me too.
You do, right? Okay.
Me too. But that's how you see yourself. So you don't see James Earl Jones, the man, as different from James Earl Jones, the actor. I mean, your private life.
On the
completely
contrary,
different.
no. I find that right now I'm not an actor. I'm a fellow talking to a nice gentleman interviewing about this and that. I'm an actor only when I'm on doing the character in front of the camera or on the stage doing the character. Otherwise, I'm just a fella. And that's important because acting is the only proletarian art. Anybody can do it. Therefore, you're an actor only when you're doing it.
But in All About Eve, for example, Eve, the scheming character, said that at some time she found that acting became more real to her than the real world of what was happening on the stage. Isn't that dangerous when that happens?
I don't know, it was in Double Life, wasn't it? Orlando played, Ronald Coleman playing Othello, began to kill people like Othello did. I don't think it's dangerous. I think most of us who have the humor, the sense of humor to even want to be actors, are pretty balanced people. And it's only an imbalance that I think would take you off the deep end where you start identifying with your characters. I think that's very rare. And that's the case of psychosis. You know.
Maybe if you stay in a play too long.
That can hurt, yeah. That can burn you out, I know that. Yeah. Staying in the play too long, well, who was it? Eugene O'Neill's father said that he admitted he stayed in the Count of Monte Cristo too long. But he was more regretting not having a more varied career, I think. I don't think it damaged him. I think what can happen is that on stage, if you play a role for 6 months.
How does one cope as an actor with being, for example, in a play for too long? Is there such a thing as being in a play for too long?
I think so, unfortunately. Kim Stanley, the great American actress, I think she was the female counterpart to Marlon Brando. That kind of great, I mean.
Yeah.
Is. One said that if you stay in a play past 6 months, you run a danger of burning out all the energies and juices and your own experience that you bring to that role. You use it up. And after that, you start manufacturing. You start faking. You start cheating. You start pretending, you know. And it's not good for the audience. It's not good. It's not healthy for the actor either.
But even with a different audience every night,
that's the only thing that saves you, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
That they are seeing it for the first time. So at least once you say your first word, you are having a new experience until to the last word. But when you go to your dressing room, you are sometimes beaten.
Yeah.
Because you've done it too much, you know. I'm not arguing for short-term engagements. I think if you're lucky enough to be in a hit that works, that runs for a long time, that's great fortune. And the producer is entitled to his fortune too. And he must have you signed for at least a year, usually.
I suppose it's easier to be in a comedy or a musical for a long time.
You know, I think you're right. I never understood that, but
because it's not as much of a drain on you.
Or is there another energy in song?
It's a different type of thing, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I notice you have very blue eyes.
When my eyes aren't red from lack of sleep or whatever, yeah, it's subrosial Irish, we call it. It came in through the slavery time on both sides of my family, but it shows up only in my father's side.
Oh.
And I pass it on to my son.
Really?
Yeah.
But you don't have to ever wear contacts to make them darker, or do you? Have you ever had to do that in film? Or?
No, it's just if I go out in the sun and get very black and I'm playing like Jack Johnson, if he's got green eyes, okay, so be it. You don't always see eyes that clearly in film. Only on the close-ups, and if you do, you have a little shock. That's good to keep you awake, you know.
A fascinating film that you've been in recently was Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. Now, some people thought, what a ridiculous film. And others thought, what a beautiful, magical film.
Yeah.
How did you feel about it?
I felt the latter. I thought it was beautiful and magical. I sat down with my family and we had a screening, and I started crying even before the first word was spoken, when the music welled up. For me, it was a celebration of every society has an event where there's communion between father and son. For my time, it was fishing. My granddad would say, let's go fishing. And he'd pick only one of us. And there was your chance to have literal communion. If anything was bothering you, here's the chance. And most American house families is playing catch with baseball in the backyard. And that's what this movie was about.
So it struck a chord.
Yeah. It was about the missed opportunity for that communion, but the young man suffered it for the rest of his life. And when his father died, he felt a great need to make up for that. And the yearning evoked, not the ghost of his father really, but evoked a whole other world in his cornfield. Evoked it.
It was very
Maybe
well
conjured it, you might say.
very well done, and I think your change over at the game when you saw what he saw was a moment. It was a real moment in film for me, anyway. But you've given me so many, and you've given so many people so many great moments in films.
I feel very fortunate to have been in a movie like Field of Dreams, like Matewan, like Claudine. They're movies that are essentially very serious, but very simple in their structure, very simple in their statement. They're not messages, they're simple statements about life, you know. And those are the movies that I think work best for anybody, for actors or audience.
And that touch a chord.
Yeah.
In your own personal life, are you a very affectionate person, demonstrably affectionate?
I'm a Capricorn, you know. I tend not to be, but
They tend to be ruthless, don't they?
Ruthless, yes, yeah. Get away, yeah. But I have a wife who's highly affectionate, and I have a son who, now that he's 7, doesn't mind coming sitting right on my lap and getting a hug, you know.
Yeah.
When he was little, he didn't want those things. He wanted them only from the women, you know, from Mama. Now Papa is coming into my own, you know. Yeah.
But that's
You learn affection. Really, it's an exchange. You know, you can die of starvation without it. You know, you die of emotional starvation, but you can only learn it with people who are close to you.
James Earl Jones, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. I mean, I feel we could go on and on.
Well, let's not, but because it's, I want to remember it as short and sweet.
I've really enjoyed.
Are you? Do you do this often?
Once in a while.
Okay, you're very good. You're very good. Thank you.
And I hope you come back soon again for an even longer stay, because you're leaving in a few days.
Yes.
But then it'll be Father's Day, and then you'll be with your son for Father's Day. James Earl
No,
Jones.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, I don't know many actors who are good at interviewing, being the interviewer. Yeah, you should